Hey everyone, this is Valerie Ann with the Truth Exposition Show at Freedomizer Radio. I'm going to play an ad really quick, and I will be back as soon as possible. Riker is also here to join me, so we will be back.
Get ready for the epic new documentary adventure ride of your life. Shade the Motion Picture. A view into the globalist domain and embellish Burma's film.
Nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Governments do not operate the way you think they do. Banks do not do what you think they do. The police department is not here for what you think it is. Nothing in your world works the way you think it does.
We have to let them know that their world government has been identified, and they thought they'd include the world economy to bring in a worldwide police state, but instead, it's going to bring them down.
You have to stand up, speak out.
Shade the Motion Picture. Order your copy of the DVD today at shadethemotionpicture.com.
This is Mercy. If you're listening to this message, warriors, you are the resistance. Warriors, you are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around the planet. We are at the brink. Read about it in The Sovereign, newspaper of the resistance. Available now at newsstands everywhere. The Sovereign is a monthly 24-page tabloid newspaper featuring incendiary content about life during wartime in the age of Obama. Warriors, keep to date every month. Remember to read The Sovereign, newspaper of the resistance. Available at newsstands everywhere. This alert is for all you boppers out there in the big city, all you street people with an ear for the action. This is Mercy. If you're listening to this message, warriors, you are the resistance. This is Mercy. Mine will be the last voice you will ever hear. Don't be alarmed.
I am an autonomous government agent here to steal your livelihood. Not so fast. I'm Sovereign Filing Solutions.
And I'm the Sovereign. We're teamed up
to bring you
the truth without censorship.
Are you tired of being fed multi-million-dollar media lies?
Are you ready for the real story?
Sovereign Filing Solutions has teamed up with the Sovereign newspaper to make sure you get it.
And not the BS this guy behind me wants to feed you.
Take the step, help make the change. Oh, come on, that's not even fair. How are we supposed to rule indiscriminately if you know what's going on?
Does the media ever deceive the public?
A white plane, a very big jet, was flying in an unusual pattern near the White House over Lafayette Park. Very slowly, it made one circle and then...
Are the media and their sources trustworthy?
New York State and New Jersey will get their first doses of the swine flu vaccine.
The H1N1 virus has made thousands of people across the country sick. Many have died. And some worrying that it could grow into a full-blown pandemic.
Where does our mainstream media get their news?
All this enjoyment is brought to you by all the things sweetened with NutraSweet.
There's a reason why we want to own these guns.
We're going to have to come together and take meaningful action to prevent more tragedies like this.
That was President Obama Friday suggesting it is now time to reopen the national debate on gun control.
The media tends to march in lockstep with the government.
Who is responsible when the media fabricates the news?
When the public is constantly fed messages that are potentially leading us into a war that may not be necessary, it's not fair to the American people, and it's not fair to journalism, because the truth isn't being told here. We found out that CNN International is actually making money from the Bahrain regime. They are a customer of Bahrain. Bahrain is paying CNN International to create content that shows Bahrain in a favorable light, to then air that content on CNN International.
Join us online at WilliamLewisFilms.com. That's WilliamLewisFilms.com.
Hey everyone, this is Valerie Ann with the Truth Exposition Show. I'm back. Just want to make sure that Riker is in with me. Riker, you're here, right?
Oh, yes, I am.
All right, cool. All right, everyone. So obviously everybody is aware of what's going on with the Boston bombings, and I'm sure a lot of people have been kind of overwhelmed with hearing, this, what had occurred in Boston. And there are so many things, I'm laughing at Aurora. There are so many things that are going on with this case, and alternative media is coming up with so much information that only supports that this was a false flag event. There's so much information out there. I'm trying to absorb everything, do my own research at the same time, and I'm not letting other research kind of influence my own research, as I'm sure you're doing the same thing. But it also gives ideas where to look and gives you leads. It does not, my theory is if it smells like a false flag, it probably is a false flag. So, it's just this whole case doesn't seem right. Between the first day that the bombings happened, mainstream media basically put out there that there was a Saudi national as a person of interest. They also stated that they're looking for a dark-skinned individual. So how more vague can you be? How do they already have someone named? Where did the Saudi national come from? Let me get his name up again. Probably going to butcher it, but bear with me. It's where did he come from? I have this here I'm going to share. The Saudi national is Abdul Rahman Ali Al-Harbi. There's an article here I'll share with everybody, and this article is only it's only about maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs, but I think it is brief, to the point, and explains other things that happened, even like 9/11. They threw this in this whole one article. So I'm going to read a portion of this article. Well, I'll read the whole thing. It's titled "The Saudi Connection to the Boston Marathon Bombing." So the article goes on to say, wasn't it strange that Abdul Rahman Ali Al-Harbi was picked up immediately after the Boston Marathon and his residence searched, while the media, the New York Post specifically named, told us, or in the article, the author of the article is saying this, told us he was the lead suspect in the case. Remember, I mentioned that the first day the bombings occurred, they mentioned a Saudi national. Didn't give the name yet, but they mentioned a Saudi national. Now, there are people doing research on this, and alternative media are also coming up. I don't know where they're getting these photos from, but they were supposedly, and I had seen the photo, but, with technology today and Photoshop, I was trying to find the authenticity of this photo of Michelle Obama, First Lady Obama, meeting with this so-called Abdul Rahman Ali Al-Harbi Saudi national. Now, there was a photo of her around Facebook, and I was trying to find if this was an authentic photo of her with him. It looked like him. It appeared to be him, and the photo that I didn't even share this in the chat room yet. Hold on, so everybody knows what I'm talking about here. And I know Aurora, I'm going to stop you right here, but Aurora's right. Aurora in the chat room is basically saying that she can't even hardly watch the news anymore, that it's totally insane what they are saying. I agree. I don't really look to the mainstream media for my information. I get information from mainstream media to see what they're talking about, and to see what lies that they're producing to the public. And I do my own research, and, as well as we've discussed this before. I always, no matter even the information I provide, I always encourage everyone, all my listeners, to do your own research, no matter who provides it, whether I provide it, my co-host Spiker provides it, my guests that come on provide it, or even mainstream media and alternative media sources, what they provide. I always try to authenticate information that's given to me, because I don't want to provide false information just for the sake of getting listeners, and I'm not going to do that. So if I don't mention something in these cases, in this case, I don't mention certain aspects that people know, it's only because I haven't confirmed that information. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to bring it up unless I confirm that information is correct or authentic. But I bring up the photo as with Michelle Obama and the Saudi national because, again, you just got to be careful of the information you get. Now, I wasn't able to confirm the truth of this photo. It looked pretty legit. So I'm just going to go back to this article because it is a little disturbing. So the article goes on to say that this individual, the Saudi national, was the lead suspect, and all of a sudden it was dropped. And it's true because the mainstream media never brought it up again. They brought it up for that first day, and then it was completely dropped. So who ordered them to drop this Saudi national? They were adamant the first day. So they dropped the Saudi national from the news completely. Never gave, to me, I never heard an explanation saying, oh, this was a mistake, it wasn't a Saudi national, nothing. It was completely dropped. Then they said a dark-skinned person or people were also people of interest. So to me, the alleged suspects, the first one, to Merlin, who was shot in a police shootout, which I'm questioning, because if he was shot during that shootout in Massachusetts, why is it they have photos of them detaining him and taking him away, and he's on the ground? Looks just like him. So that's my question. And how did he end up dead? So that is a question that I have. Now, the brother, the 19-year-old, Duskar Sarnev, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that name right. I know the T is probably silent. I think it's an S, right? Sarnev or something. He, the younger brother of 19 years old, there were photos of him in a boat. And he was coming out of the boat, and they have photos of him coming out of that boat. Now, he didn't appear to have an injury or a throat injury when he came out of that boat. But a few minutes later, they show photos of him with a throat injury. Now, mainstream media didn't provide the reason or how he got that throat injury. So I'm questioning that as well. So how did this kid become injured if he walked out of that boat? And there's photos of him. When they found him, they had the helicopter was there, the lights were on him. That's what I'm getting from the photo. And he comes out of the boat. So where did he get injured from? How did he get a throat wound? So I'm questioning that. This really does smell of something really funny going on with this case. I mean, even people are messaging me that haven't fully woken up yet, but they're kind of halfway starting to. They're even questioning some of the information that the mainstream media is given as opposed to alternative media sources that are providing additional information. So people are questioning this. So my question is,
if you notice, when the older brother, when they showed him laying on the ground, he was supposedly dead. He was wide open. He wasn't in any hiding behind a tree or a fence or a bush or something like that. And it's like, if he was trying to avoid being captured and everything, why would he be wide open like that?
Yeah, exactly. It just does not make any sense. The entire thing doesn't make any sense. And the mother of the two came out and stated that the FBI had meetings with her son, the older son, to Marilyn, had meetings with her son a couple of years ago and met with her. Now, the FBI told the mother that he, meaning the first son, the older of the two, who was shot, or who was killed, or who died. I mean, however you want to define it at this point. The mother said that the FBI provided the mother with information saying that they were afraid of her son. Now, now it came out a few days ago that he was on a terrorist watch list, that the older son was. Didn't say anything about the second son, Dozhar, but it just doesn't make sense. Now, if he was on, let's just say, for argument's sake, this is not a false flag. Just say that, okay? If he was on a terrorist watch list, why is it that they were able to go to a marathon, a public event that has hundreds of people, and maybe even thousands? I've never been to the Boston Marathon. I've never even been to the New York City Marathon. I just don't go to those things. But even if they just say hundreds and hundreds of people were there, why would the FBI allow them to be at that event? Don't you think that they would have questioned why they're at this event? So even if this is not a false flag, they still drop the ball on these two guys if, and that's a huge if in my book, if these are true suspects.
Well, I'll tell you, I've always brought up in the past a movie that's out. I think it's a Ray Bradbury novel, but they made a movie called Fahrenheit 451. In the end, they always catch the bad guy, whether it's the real bad guy or not, just to show the public that you're not going to get away with it. Will always catch you. And right. the premise was that you could not read any books, any information other than what the government allowed you, because they wanted to control you. And right. this movie was made back in the 60s, and I mean, when you think about like what we're talking about now, who's to say that that wasn't the case with what we're talking about today?
Exactly. No, that's true. Absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to bring this up and discuss this. So the chronology of events, I was going to list it and then discuss, but I didn't get a chance today. It just doesn't seem right now this individual was on a terrorist watch list and that he was some kind of Muslim radical. How do we know, let's just say for argument's sake, how do we know he wasn't a CIA operative and they wanted to place him at the scene? That's my theory. They wanted to place him at the scene and say, hey, meet us at this, Boston Marathon, because there are so many photos of operatives, whether they're the Craft, which is a private organization, private military organization, like Blackwater. So there were two guys seen there with backpacks, and if you look at the photos of the backpack that was, allegedly blown up, it was the same backpack that one of those, what looked like operatives, had on their back, which were not the two suspects. And if you look at the video footage and the photos, these kids are just walking around with their backpacks on. Now, I didn't see the photo of the first, to Maryland, which is the older of the two. After the bombing, if he ran and still had his backpack on. But the second, the brother, the second suspect, the younger one, the 19-year-old one, he was still seen with his backpack in the photos after the bomb or bombs went off. So the thing is, that is just still questionable. There's also video footage, and it's all over YouTube, and I've saved so many. I'm going to try to look through in the break and share with everybody, of mainstream media showing a video of some kind of officer or somebody walking, and then there's kind of blood on the ground. And then as he walked by, it was edited and the blood was gone. So there are so many different things that's out there on YouTube. So many people looking at the video footage and finding things that are questionable. My other question is, now, if alternative media sources and people are questioning the two what look like operatives, they had the cap on, the skull cap on with the Navy SEAL cap, the Craft. They're saying that they were either Navy SEALs, they had military pants and boots on, one of them had a walkie-talkie with them. Then they also had the hat, the emblem of the Craft, which, again, is the private military organization that was placed there. Why is it the mainstream media is not discussing those photos that were taken and those surveillance of those individuals? Why aren't they bringing it up, or at least they know it's out there that people are questioning it? Why not give an explanation of who they are? They're completely ignoring it. Now, I can share the video, and I have it. Dan Badandi, who used to be a Freedomizer, who is also now at InfoWars, went to a press conference, and I spoke with him about this. Went to a press conference and asked the same questions about, the bombing. He had some questions. He asked legitimate questions, and they completely ignored him and walked away. So why is it they're ignoring his questions from InfoWars, but the controlled media, CNN, all the other mainstream media sources, they were answering those questions. But when InfoWars comes, they completely ignore them and walk away, and the press conference is over. So what are they trying to hide? But there were so many questions about not only their actions and their responses, but there are so many holes in their story that any average person that has some sort of a brain, I'm hoping, does question it. Even Fox News has a YouTube video. I'm going to look for it on the break, and I forgot his name, but he even discusses the possibility of a false flag event, that people are discussing this as a false flag. There's also another video I just watched a little while ago. C-SPAN had some callers, and there were individuals calling into the C-SPAN political, telephone radio show or whatever, and they were saying that they believe that this is a false flag event. 2 people called. They were totally run off. Well, thank you for calling, and that was it. And I'll share with everybody. It was very interesting, and I'll give that to you. I just reviewed it before I came on the show. So I'll share that with everybody as well. So there are people waking up to these possibilities, I think, absolutely. So, again, I wanted to bring that up because I also want to finish this. Did I give you this article? I put this article, I think, in the chat room, but I'm going to place it in there again because I want to read a little bit of it, okay? Okay, so this article goes on to say with the Saudi connection. I kind of went off track a little bit, which I usually do, but I hope people can follow me. Oh, God. Okay, so basically they're saying that the Saudi national was sent back to the Middle East. He was immediately removed from the suspect list and became a victim, supposedly. I don't know about him becoming a victim. I didn't hear about that, but he was in the hospital because that's where the photos were taken, so maybe they did deem him as a victim. He didn't look injured. That's why it's so funny. It's very questioned about the Saudi national. Then there was information going around that President Obama had a secret meeting or an unscheduled meeting with the leadership of Saudi Arabia. So this article goes on to say that he was hastily deported out of the country back to Saudi Arabia, free from prying eyes and anxious questions and any legal actions. It goes on to say Abdul disappeared from the national media and all Google searches titled Saudi connection to Boston bombing led straight into Russia and none into Saudi Arabia, who, as we know, is the real center of funding for Islamic terrorism. That's what this article is saying. I'm just quoting it. Perhaps under even the supervision of their British and American compatriots in the M16 and the CIA and Pentagon. War is really a game played for profit, and we all know that, right? And most of the crusaders and jihadists don't even realize it, but they actually are working for the same banks, just running up millions in profit in guns and drugs. Then the article goes on to say, meanwhile, the uncle. Now, remember there was an uncle that was involved in the interviews from mainstream media. The uncle is against his so-called nephews. These are the nephews, the suspects, the Chechens, right? He blames them for it. He feels that they did this. Now, I spoke with someone who was also doing research that says this uncle supposedly has ties to the CIA somehow. So I'm also going to read on this article about the uncle. It said, according to Daniel Hopsticker today, I guess another researcher, apparently this research found that the uncle of the two is an oil millionaire with links to Halliburton and the CIA. Now, I don't know if that's, I'm going to, again, I just pulled this up maybe a half hour before the show, but I did want to bring this up. So if anybody wants to do a little research on that and have a little fun, with that part of the research to try to find out who this uncle is, that would be interesting if this is true. And it says when Abdul was shipped back to Saudi Arabia, he and his father were immediately paraded before the Saudi media and assured everyone that they had nothing to do with the bombing. And then the entire media was overwhelmed by an absurd story of three men so handsome they had to be banished. Then the article goes on to say, and brings up on 11, it goes on, shades of the Israeli team caught videotaping the fall of the Twin Towers like they knew if it was going to happen. Now, that has to do with the what's that called, the 5 dancing Israelis? Does that have to do with that? Did you ever hear of that?
No.
Okay. Well,
I'll be honest, no, that one I haven't heard of.
Yeah, I'm going to bring it up because I think I have the article here and information on this. I think I got the term right. And I'm going to bring this up here. Well, this has got like here, Dancing Israelis Veterans Day. Okay, I'm going to bring this up. And this went around for a while. They don't bring it up anymore. But this went around for a while. You can read that. This went around for a while. Again, I'm bringing up articles where people have done research on this. Mainstream media. I'm not going to be able to pull this up at CNN and Fox News. Everybody knows that, okay? So I'm just bringing up information that I found on this a while back. Now, the 5 dancing Israelis arrested on 9/11. Now, I don't know if they were arrested, but it says the New York Times reported Thursday that a group of 5 men had set up video cameras aimed at the Twin Towers prior to the attack on Tuesday and were seen congratulating one another afterwards. Now, if you remember, they first said that they were Muslims doing it. Then it came out later that they weren't Muslim, that they were actually Israeli. So this is what's questionable, too. So that's why he brought this up. So these people were seen taping the Twin Towers before it actually happened. And then after the Twin Towers were hit, these 5 individuals were dancing around, celebrating. So that's why they call it the 5 dancing Israelis. So that's just a brief explanation of what they are. Okay.
Now, wasn't that not said too that they were trying to make it look like that it was somebody else other than Israelis that did this, but Israel was actually trying to get the United States to help them out by doing this attack?
Yeah,
to fight
there are
against,
theories.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are theories about that the Israeli government was involved in this, and there's a whole YouTube video explaining this. It's a pretty good video with the chronology of events leading up to 9/11, which is interesting enough, and I can find that video. There's so much on it. You could just do the search on it, 9/11, and Mossad or whatever it is. You could do just 9/11 Netanyahu, anything, and you can pull this up. It's a long video, but it does give a good explanation. If I can find it, I'll share it with everybody in the chat room. I think I can find it now, but I will find it, and I'll put it in the chat room so everybody sees it. But nonetheless, it's interesting enough that there are several theories, but it all boils down to Israel being involved. That's what most of the theories out there provide. But with that said, I just find it very questionable why this Saudi national was named and then deported back. And why isn't it that the mainstream media is not even mentioning the Saudi national anymore? So I would like to know where this guy, came in. There was another article, I don't know if it's true, that this Abdul Rahman Ali al-Harbi was the son of bin Laden. I don't know how true that is, but if anybody has information on that, I couldn't find any more information, that would be cool too. Because I know a lot of our listeners do the research also. So I'm going to go to break now. I might as well get it over with now, the break, because I want to discuss the false flag events that have happened in our history or that were proposed in our history that can also help explain why we're still having them. And we all know the reason why we have them. So we will be back in about 3 minutes, everybody, so just bear with us.
Want to spread awareness to your neighbors, family, and friends about what is going on in our country today? It may be things you already know, like the large number of FEMA camps spread around this country to lock up citizens like you and me. What legislators are doing to strip states and people of their sovereign rights. Or legislation giving states the power to force vaccinate under a declared state of emergency. Do your neighbors understand what is going on? William Lewis Films offers the perfect tools to inform our population about this government's tyrannical shift from a constitutional republic to a despotic democracy. Films like 911 Ripple Effect, Beyond Treason, One Nation Under Siege, Washington You're Fired, Camp FEMA, Enemy of the State, Don't Tread on Me, Blood of Patriots, The Ron Paul Uprising, even 911 in Plain Sight, William's first production, are all available at WilliamLewisFilms.com. Get your DVDs today at WilliamLewisFilms.com. Educate against the police state.
We are so pleased to announce ESP Botanicals is now sponsoring Freedomizer Radio. They have a bath and body line of products made for keeping your skin beautiful and healthy, but it's also for psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, and dermatitis treatment. They are meticulously prepared skincare products made from the best botanicals available, committed to buying only from the growers when they can, and using the highest quality cold-pressed oils, botanical organic additives, the best steam-expressed essential oils, and the least processed carrier oils that are available in today's marketplace. Pamper yourself or someone special in your life. Give the gift of beautiful, glowing skin. ESPBotanicals.com. Thank you so much for supporting us at Freedomizer Radio.
This is Harold the Swell. I used to post mess all day long, but then I realized that all of the news to Washington, so that's why I joined the Last Voice of Liberty Network, so I could find all them mess, hunt them down, and chew on the pulpy mess news inside. That's me.
I was once out strolling our Critical Immunity with Larry and Renee. Our show will cover current events, national health news, nutrition, emergency preparedness, and organic farming, and various implements and tools to thrive and survive. We hope you tune in and join in our discussion of health, liberty, preparedness, and survival. Join our hosts, Larry and Renee, with guest callers always welcome.
We know about the Gulf oil spill. We know about problems with voting. We know about environmental toxicity. We know that there are problems about the wars, that our government is not representing the people as we would wish them to represent us. But we also know that there are crystal clear solutions. I'm Patricia Springstead, and I'm heavily involved in making the world a better place.
Every day you try to brainwash people just to have things go your way.
Tricia Springstead on Freedomizer Radio. Crystal Clear Solutions.
Well, tell me what you gonna do when your well runs dry.
Oh, you want to heal the world? Oh, you can't do that. You know, you got to elect the right people. No, change your thinking. Change the way you feel. Change the way you do things. Do everything for peace. Like John Lennon said, walk for peace. You take a shower for peace. Do whatever you do for peace. Every time you do that, you set a ripple effect out. Because we live in a vibrational world, and your brain is the instrument. To learn how to direct and control your mind, you guys are superheroes. You know, they don't want you to know that, but you are. You guys are the most powerful people in the world.
We see the power in you to change your thinking. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, only on Freedomizer Radio.
Hey, Freedomists, join me, Proof Negative, weeknights, 9 p.m. to midnight Eastern, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific, as we fight the New World Order together, right here on Freedomizer Radio, your exclusive home of the Proof Negative Show.
Please learn more about Freedomizer Radio by going to freedomizerradio.com and also Facebook us right at freedomizerradio.com. Catch you there.
Hey, everyone. This is Valerie Ann with the Truth Exposition Show at Freedomizer Radio. I'm back with my co-host, Riker. All right, Riker, you're still there, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. What I wanted to bring up for a little bit, Boston is what's actually happening now, but I wanted to bring up, a few months ago, I did discuss Operation Gladio, which was also a CIA-run organization that was set to engage in false flag terror attacks in Italy and in different areas of the country to end communism. That was what they wanted to do, but it was still, Operation Gladio was still targeting American citizens and other civilians in order to sell anti-communism to the people. So that was one, and that's just a brief explanation. It goes on more than that, but that's just giving you a brief explanation. But the reason why I wanted to bring up Operation Norwood is because this is another false flag operation that was proposed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It was proposed in 1962 to President Kennedy. And President Kennedy later rejected the proposal. And interestingly enough, President Kennedy was assassinated, shortly thereafter, right? So there's a document that I want to share with you and everyone else that I had found. And this is a document that was provided incidentally during the investigation of President Kennedy's assassination. These were deemed unclassified, but mistakenly and incidentally deemed unclassified for the investigation. So these were not supposed to get out. That's what I'm reading. Okay, so this is what I want to share with everyone. And when you have time, let's just read this. Okay, so I'm going to get to this in a minute. Okay, but these are official PDF documents, official government documents, stamped classified, unclassified later, incidentally. So what Operation Norwood was it was a series of false flag proposals that originated with the United States government in 1962 but were rejected by the Kennedy administration. The proposals called for the CIA and other operatives to commit perceived acts of terrorism in U.S. cities and elsewhere. These acts of terrorism were to be blamed on Cuba in order to create public support for a war against that nation, which had recently become communist under Fidel Castro. One part of Operation Norwoods was to develop a communist Cuban terror campaign in the Miami area, in other Florida cities, and even in Washington. Operation Norwood's proposals included hijacking and bombing, followed by the introduction of phony evidence that would implicate the Cuban government. Okay? And basically, the operation stated the desired resultant from the execution of this plan would be to place the United States in the apparent position of suffering defensible grievances from a rash and irresponsible government of Cuba, and to develop an international image of a Cuban threat to peace in the Western Hemisphere. Then there were several other proposals that were included with Operation Norwoods, which was including a real or simulated actions against various U.S. military and civilian targets. The plan was drafted by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, signed by Chairman Lyman Lemnitzer, and sent to the Secretary of Defense. The article also goes on to say, although part of the U.S. government's Cuban Project anti-communist initiative, Operation Norwoods was never officially accepted. It was authorized by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, but then rejected by President John F. Kennedy. According to currently released documentation, none of the operations became active under the auspices of the Operation Norwoods proposals. The main proposal was presented in a document entitled, and this is what I just shared in the chat room. The document is titled Justification for U.S. Military Intervention in Cuba, and it was deemed as top secret. And it was a top secret collection of draft memoranda written by the DOD, the Defense Department, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The document was presented by the Joint Chiefs of Staff to Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara on March 13, 1962, as a preliminary submission for planning purposes. Joint Chiefs of Staff recommended that both the covert and overt aspects of any such operations be assigned to them. The previously secret document was originally made public on November 18, 1997, by the John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Review Board, the U.S. federal agency overseeing the release of government records related to John F. Kennedy's assassination. There's a total of 1,521 pages of once secret military records covering 1962 to 1964 were incidentally declassified by said review board. So this is how this is on the net, and I found it. That's what I found. What I shared in anybody can look it up and find it. And I didn't do anything really special to Google it. But it's still, I found it, and I'm sharing that information.
And basically, when you look at all this, too, this is like the blueprint of everything that they're doing today.
Exactly.
All you have to do is change the name of the countries.
That's all you do, and you have to change the name of the operation. So what is this, Operation Boston? Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, it's because of our government's history with creating false flag events like this and proposals. I mean, these were documents these are proposals in writing to the President of the United States requesting approval for these false flag operations. And for people to say that this doesn't happen, they need to wake up and do your research. Operation Norwood, Operation Gladio. There are various other operations that are involved. I mean, look at the Bay of Pigs. It was also a false flag operation, wasn't it? Really think about it. Okay? So the thing is, people have to see and wake up that our government does this. And our government is doing this because they want to brainwash the public into thinking, okay, it's Muslim terrorists that are going to get you every day of your life. You are a threat. They are a threat to society on a daily basis in the U.S. and abroad. You are in danger of these individuals. So what we're going to do is we're going to train our local police departments and our city police departments with military tactics. We're going to give our police departments tanks and body armor that military uses on a daily basis. We're going to place them in your city to protect you. We're going to, like they did after the Boston bombings, and there's YouTube videos all over the place. People are filming this. People that live in Boston are like, this is ridiculous, that they're looking for this one individual, but in military, like police, with tanks, there's a tank that says in a photo, Boston Police Department. What police department do you know has a Humvee tank? There's photos of it all over the place. Banging on people's doors. People are coming, average American citizens are being ripped from their homes. And they're being taken from their homes with their hands above their head. For what reason? For what reason? Now, the thing is, we want to say that these two individuals were part of a Muslim terrorist organization because they want to keep the American public in fear. And the only way to keep the American public in fear is to create these false flag events. And
well, if you remember, too, just before all this went down, they were going to allow people to start boarding airplanes with devices and stuff like that they originally, after 9/11, had made illegal. And then when this all went down, all of a sudden they reneged on all that, and they said, no, we're not going to allow all this. I forgot how many different items there were, but there was like little pocket knives, things that, you would think that they could use to hijack a plane. So they were, after this Boston bombing thing happened, they said no, that we weren't going to allow any of that. In other words, like what you're saying, that they put the fear back into everybody by this happening, so they backed down on allowing all these devices for people to carry them on their planes.
Exactly. Absolutely. Let me see if I can bring this up. Let's talk about the other lone wolf false flag events that happened. Okay, what about, let me bring it up. Back in October 18, 2012. So it was in October 2012. I'm going to bring this up, as an example. I'm not going to get off the subject of Operation Norwood, but this has a lot to do with what I'm talking about. Man arrested after plotting Federal Reserve bomb. Do you remember that back in October? Now, it was in the news in October for a few weeks. I'm going to read a little bit of it from CNN. Federal authorities running a sting operation arrested a 21-year-old Bangladeshi man who came to the U.S. on a student visa and was allegedly planning to blow up the Federal Reserve Bank of New York with what he believed was a 1,000-pound bomb. Qazi Mohammed Rezwanul Hashan Nafis, that's the individual's name, was detained Wednesday after an alleged attempt to detonate the device, which was inert and part of an elaborate investigation by federal authorities and the NYPD detectives. Prosecutors say Nafis was apparently motivated by al-Qaeda and traveled to the United States in January under the pretext of attending college in Missouri in order to carry out a terrorist attack on U.S. soil. Now, that was in the news in October. I'm looking right now. If you look up his name, there's nothing that I see after October. What happened to this guy? No trial? No mention of him again? Seriously, what happened to this guy? Later on, they mention it. The Huffington Post mentions it. But what happened to him? Where is the trial? Now,
people probably forgot, too.
But that's my point. So if people forget this happened, we can't let that happen. Now, the government says we can't let that happen. We have to keep the people in fear. So let's come up with another one. But the first one was the Times Square. His first name is Faisal. Let me see a minute. Let me get his last name. Now, this was in 2010. Let me get him. Here it is. May of 2010. Here we go. His name is Faisal Shahzad. If everybody remembers him, it was a Times Square car bomb suspect faces terrorism charges after admitting to a plot. Pakistani-born U.S. citizen Faisal Shahzad has admitted trying to set off a car bomb in busy Times Square and will face terrorism and mass destruction charges. Now, Attorney General Holder said on Tuesday. Holder said in a press conference that Shahzad has been charged with an act of terrorism and attempted use of a weapon of mass destruction in the May 1st bomb plot. Now, that was in 2010. What happened to his trial? Where did this guy go? He totally fell off the face of the earth. So 2010, again, now Americans, in their mind, after 9/11, oh, my God, we thought we were free of this, right? We thought we were free of terrorism. Now we're fine. The American people aren't afraid anymore. It's in the back of their mind. They understand. They know 9/11 happened, and the military was there for months and months and months and months at Penn Station. Military was there at Grand Central, and I know where they were because I worked in the city at that time, and I'd seen it every day with assault weapons and everything. People had a full sense of security and felt safer. That was just the beginning of our police state. Then a few years went by, nothing else. So they would report some stuff in Israel and Palestine, Pakistan. They reported on, the so-called war on terror, which is also a lie sold to the American public. So that was going on. Then all of a sudden, wow, a lone wolf terrorist that has some sort of ties to Al-Qaeda goes to blow up Times Square. But it turned out to be a dud in a car of a Pathfinder. So now that's now embedded years later, 8-9 years later, embedded in the American public's mind that there is still a so-called threat of terrorism from Al-Qaeda operatives. Okay? So now people don't want to let their guard out. Military, police all over the place. People are accepting the false sense of security. Then a few years later, a month or two later, we felt better. Nothing's going to happen. We're fine. What happens 2 years later? Another false flag, one lone wolf terrorist in the Federal Reserve in October 2012 to keep the American people in fear. Then the American people felt better about the situation. Nothing's probably going to happen here. And what happens? Boston bombing. Again, Muslim terrorists. So people have to understand they want to keep the American public in fear. And in order to keep the American public in fear, just like with Operation Norwoods, you have to have some sort of, they feel having a false flag event will allow the American public to accept that false sense of security, where the American public feels secure. Now, when the military and the police were going around in Boston knocking on people's doors, people were actually videotaping them and saying, wow, this is ridiculous. So I think people are kind of catching on to this increasingly police state. So what's going to happen next? Now, there were also articles going around this week that there were military operations and training exercises happening in Illinois, Compton, California, and Los Angeles, right? And somebody had mentioned something here in New York in Times Square. I didn't know anything about that, but they did mention it. So why? Why are they having these training operations with military in certain cities?
Well, when you think about it, too, President Roosevelt said it, all we have to fear is fear itself. It was a different situation, but they've taken that out of context, and they've applied it to, like what you're saying, keep fear in everybody and keep everybody on edge.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Maybe
it's like
part of it could be an excuse to use the money that they're spending on all this stuff, too. They don't want their funding cut off.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But it's like I hate to say everything that happens is a false flag event, but we can't help but think that way because of our country's not our country. Let me rephrase, because of our government's history in this. Certain administrations getting involved in this. So you can't help but think, as a researcher and as somebody who has knowledge of this, it's hard to say that there's one that is not a false flag event. You know what I mean? So because of the history of our government's actions and operations and proposals, so it's hard to, think that it's not going to be something to sell to the American people to accept some sort of security, some sort of police state, to accept the executive orders that are handed down. I'm going to read something also for Mayor Bloomberg. And I have somebody who's going to be calling in another guest in a few minutes. But let me bring it up about Bloomberg. What Mayor Bloomberg said today. Let me see if I can find it. I know I have it here. I may have even saved it. Hold on. Now they were also saying that the Boston bombing suspects planned on coming to New York to carry out an attack. First they said that this is what I don't get either. Now, there was supposedly a carjacking involved. Okay, there was supposed to be a carjacking involved with this whole Boston, the suspects and everything. And that's where the police standoff got involved, took place. Now, if you are carjacked and supposedly it was that the person that was carjacked overheard them talking about, overheard the suspects talking that they were going to go. Here it is, about Bloomberg. I'm going to read this in a minute. But supposedly the carjacker heard them talking about it while this individual was being carjacked. This is what I'm getting from it. If anybody has other information, to kind of contradict that, this is what I read. So that would be great.
Even when you say that, if you're carjacking somebody, why are you going to talk about your plans of going somewhere and doing something? You're more concerned about getting that car away from the owner. It seems highly unlikely that they would be talking about what they're going to do.
Yeah,
Just my opinion.
No, exactly. It makes sense. And not only that, but I want to also add, what usually happens when somebody's carjacked? Do they usually take the owner of the vehicle with them?
No.
Exactly. Not in any carjacking. I'm a criminology major, and I've read cases. I don't know of any carjacking. Usually the first thing you do, open up the door, rip the person out, or you name them or whatever you want to do. But where, why would they take this person with them?
And then proceed to talk in front of him of their plans. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, there's an article here dated yesterday, April 26th, that talks about Danny. First name is Danny, who was carjacked. So let me see. And now we've learned that story of Danny, the 26-year-old man whose car was hijacked by the Sarnoff brothers. Danny's tale, recounted in a riveting story in today's Boston Globe, began last Thursday at 11 p.m. He was driving a Mercedes and fatefully had pulled to the side of the road to deal with a text message. A sedan swerved behind him. A man banged on his window. The door opened. A pistol appeared, and soon they were off. Danny is an immigrant from China who had came to Boston as a graduate student. He now works for a startup in Kendall Square. So they said that Danny overheard these brothers, the suspects, talking about, this whole thing. Now, supposedly the older brother said, "Do you remember my face?" Tamarian yelled at Danny at one point in the car. No, I don't remember anything that Danny's supposed to have said. It's like white guys, they look at black guys and think all black guys look the same. This is what Tamarian supposedly said. But there's nothing much very big about Danny's story. I don't remember seeing Danny in an interview or saying that he refused to be interviewed or anything like that. So I don't know who this Danny is. And I didn't really see much of that. So that
could be the figment of the imagination of the government.
It could be. Maybe there is a Danny. Hey, maybe this really happened. But maybe these kids were running because they were framed. And they were in the car with this guy. They really wanted to hurt this guy. Why would they keep him with them? They just want the car because they would rip the guy out of the car. It just doesn't make any sense. Again, it does not make any sense. But
and if they're going to kill people too, like they did in Boston, why would they let this guy live?
Exactly. It makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. So what I wanted to do was provide you what Bloomberg says. This is just an example of how now governments are saying that because of the threats that we have today, that they need to revisit and interpret the Constitution. So I'm going to read what the NRA has an article here. It says Bloomberg, which is Dana Bloomberg of New York City. Bloomberg says interpretation of Constitution has to change. According to New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, the recent terror bombings in Boston require a new interpretation of the Constitution to give the government greater power to protect its citizens. Then I quote what President Bloomberg, Mayor Bloomberg stated. Oh, President Bloomberg, oh God, that'll definitely move. The people who are worried about privacy have a legitimate worry, Bloomberg said during a recent press conference. But we live in a complex world where you are going to have a level of security greater than you did back in the olden days, if you will. And our laws and our interpretation of the Constitution, I think, have to change. According to Breitbart.com article, the anti-gun Bloomberg claims that the recent attacks on the Second Amendment have left him confident that such reinterpretation is possible. Then he goes on to say, the Supreme Court has recognized that you have to have different interpretations of the Second Amendment and what it applies to and reasonable gun laws, Bloomberg said. He employs the tactic of incriminately lowering the bar by suggesting that Americans should be willing to give up a degree of freedom in exchange for a degree of security. This is what Bloomberg is saying. In order for you to feel a sense of security, we need to surveil you. We need to have a higher and lengthened security. So you need to give up some of your liberties and your privacy in order for us to give you that security. So he's trying to sell it. Again, a politician trying to sell it to the American people. And I'm hoping this time that the American people will wake up and see what is going on. Then he goes on to say it really says something bad about us that we have to do it. But our obligation first and foremost is to keep our kids safe in school. So here they are bringing up the kids again. Let's use emotional buzzwords by bringing up our children being safe in school. First and foremost, the children. To keep you safe if you are going to a sporting event. First and foremost, to keep you safe if you walk down the streets or go into our parks. So what you're saying, Mayor Bloomberg, is that we have to have military and police at every sporting event, watching every move we make, walking down the street in our parks. Is that what you're trying to say, Mayor Bloomberg? I really wish he was listening because I would like him to call in and basically explain. Now, the call-in number here is 347-324-3704. And I really don't think the American people, especially New Yorkers, are going to buy into this. First, it was your ban on sodas, which is completely ridiculous. Now, you want people to stop smoking. This makes sense. I'm getting off tangent here because now I'm getting mad. So he wants people to quit smoking, Bloomberg, right? So now he's telling smokers, people that sell smoke shops and delis or whatever, whoever has a license to sell cigarettes and sells cigarettes, keep them behind a curtain. His whole concept is out of state, out of sight, out of mind. Let me tell you something. I'm a smoker. I don't need a curtain to tell me there's no cigarettes back there. I'm going to go buy a pack of cigarettes. I'm a smoker. That's not going to help me quit. Then he says, now, in New York, in Brooklyn alone, this is one of the cheaper ones. A pack of cigarettes is $12.65. He goes on to say that he won't lower the cigarette prices because he wanted to deter people from buying them. But what he doesn't understand is that the low-income city residents are most of the people who smoke. So why do you continuously steal from New Yorkers, continuously, low-income New Yorkers? It's not that easy to quit. Just because it's not in your face and it's not behind a curtain in the deli, it doesn't mean you don't want it. It's because, again, our children, we don't want our children to see smoking. You know, it's just absolutely, stay out of our lives. If we want to drink soda, we're going to drink soda. I don't drink soda. But if somebody, this is America. And the last I remember is if I wanted a Pepsi, I can go into a deli and buy a Pepsi. I don't need some government telling me what size Pepsi for me to drink. I don't need some government telling me that they're going to hide cigarettes behind a curtain because it's going to help me quit. It's not going to help me quit. What's going to help me quit is if these tobacco companies stop putting additives and rat poisoning and all these other chemicals that are addictive chemicals. There's a conspiracy here. We all know it. They want you to quit, but they don't want you to quit. That's why they put these chemicals in cigarettes to make them more addicting, because the tobacco companies would lose so much money. You know what I mean? So for him to come out and say, hey, quit smoking. If it's not behind, it's not in your face, maybe you'll quit smoking. It's ridiculous. Stay out of our lives. We know what we want. So I just went off on a tangent there. But again, I read this article. Did you want to take another break? Yeah, I guess I will. I'm really mad right now. Maybe I should. Yeah, I think I do. I really do. I think I went off on that one. I had to. I feel so much better now. Oh, God. All right, everyone. I feel so much better now. Woof. Okay. Got a little hot on that one. All right. Like physically, I got hot on that one. All right. I mean, like sweating. Like not. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to go. So we'll be back, everybody. We will be back.
We know about the Gulf oil spill. We know about problems with voting. We know about environmental toxicity. We know that there are problems about the wars, that our government is not representing the people as we would wish them to represent us. But we also know that there are crystal clear solutions. I'm Patricia Springstead, and I'm heavily involved in making the world a better place.
Every day you try to brainwash people. just to have things go your way.
Trisha Springstead on Freedomizer Radio. Crystal Clear Solutions.
Well, tell me what you gonna do when your well runs dry.
Hello again, Freedomist. Proof is here, and I want to talk to you about a brand new soda maker called SodaStream. Now, the Proof House has had SodaStream for about a year, and we love the thing. We use it quite often. With SodaStream, you can have fresh-made soda in seconds. One of the big things we like about it is that there's no high-fructose corn syrup and no aspartame. There's over 60 flavors, or you can create your own. Not just sodas, they also have iced teas and energy drinks. Here at the Proof House, we make egg cream sodas all the time. Some other facts to consider here: there's no electricity, no more wasted bottles and cans, and the most important thing is that it tastes great. Keep in mind, too, this is a perfect family present for Christmas, or, hey, just surprise the family with something great. Also, for a limited time, there's free shipping. So go to Freedomizerradio.com and look for the SodaStream link, and I hope you check out the product. That's SodaStream right on Freedomizerradio.com. Hey guys, Proof here. Guess what? I just got a cell phone. Hey, for everyone that knows me, I'm not a fan of cell phones, but I just signed up with a company called Solave. And Solave is offering a plan right now with unlimited phone, text, and web for only $49 a month. Plus, if you refer a friend or two, you get a discounted rate for everyone you refer for as long as they have Solave. Not just for the first month, but for the whole time that person has Solave. You sign up enough people, and Solave pays you every month. What other cell phone company is going to pay you for service? Anyway, go to solave.com/freedomizer. That's Solave, SOLABEI.com/freedomizer. Learn all about it. Plus, and another kicker, if you sign up 3 people under you, you'll get another month for free as well. Plus, they're going to pay you cash. Anyway, solave.com/freedomizer. Hello, everyone. Proof here again. I want to let you know about our brand new sponsor, Silver Leaf Tea. Now, as you guys know that have listened to me for years, I am a tea aficionado. I have hundreds of different flavors and styles at my house, and Silver Leaf has exactly the kind of stuff that I look for. I love loose tea, great antioxidants. I just love the taste of it, and this Silver Leaf has black, they have green, they have white, they have organic, great for hot tea and iced tea. Silver Leaf Tea, it's right on our website, freedomizerradio.com, and check it out and order it. Silver Leaf Tea.
I am an autonomous government agent here to steal your livelihood.
Not so fast. I'm Sovereign Filing Solutions.
And I'm the Sovereign. We're teamed up
to bring you
the truth without censorship.
Are you tired of being fed multi-million-dollar media lies?
Are you ready for the real story?
Sovereign Filing Solutions has teamed up with the Sovereign newspaper to make sure you get it.
And not the BS this guy behind me wants to feed you.
Take the step, help make the change.
Oh, come on, that's not even fair. How are we supposed to rule indiscriminately if you know what's going on?
Does the media ever deceive the public?
This is Mercy. If you're listening to this message, warriors, you are the resistance. Warriors, you are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around the planet. We are at the brink. Read about it in the Sovereign, newspaper of the resistance. Available now at newsstands everywhere. The Sovereign is a monthly 24-page tabloid newspaper featuring incendiary content about life during wartime in the age of Obama. Warriors, keep to date every month. Remember to read The Sovereign, newspaper of the resistance. Available at newsstands everywhere. This alert is for all you boppers out there in the big city, all you street people with an ear for the action. This is Mercy. If you're listening to this message, warriors, you are the resistance. This is Mercy. Mine will be the last voice you will ever hear. Don't be alarmed.
Hey there, Freedomizers. This is JC from the Sports Lounge. Join us for 3 hours on Saturdays as we take a break from politics to discuss sports at freedomizerradio.com. Come and join us each Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon Pacific, noon to 3 p.m. Eastern.
You are listening to Freedomizer Radio, where Freedomizers freedomize freedom.
Hey everyone, this is Valerie Ann with the Truth Exposition Show and my co-host Riker. We have a guest tonight, and his name is Sheldon, and he's a former talk show host out of Tuscan on Planet X. He continually is studying Earth changes and trying to wake up the masses on the reality of Earth's greatest danger, Planet X. So Sheldon, welcome to Freedomizer and the Truth Exposition. How are you this evening?
Well, thank you, Valerie. Thanks for inviting me on board.
Oh, no problem. It's a pleasure to have you. Absolutely. And we're still here with Riker, okay? And
yes.
Riker, you're still here, right? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I know, Sheldon, you were listening. We were talking about false flag events, Operation. I mentioned a little bit about Operation Gladio, and I went a little bit into Operation Norwood. Is there something you wanted to add to that as well?
Well, I could preface the conversation by injecting that the Congresswoman Gabby Giffords getting shot here in Tucson was a false flag event. As a matter of fact, it was staged by a group of actors, and the guy that runs this acting group is out of Catalina, which is north of Tucson here. I was right in the back, practically the backyard of this event, and me and at least 3 other researchers went out and did our own personal investigation into this. And as far as I'm concerned, that the 9-year-old girl, Christina Taylor Greene, didn't even die that day. It was just this big acting event run by the Department of Homeland Security.
Right. I've watched so many videos on crisis actors, and I'd watch a video where some crisis actors were helping on our military in training with individuals with loss of limbs. It's on YouTube if you look it up. It's interesting. So what is the reason for having a crisis actor? So there has to be a reason for it, and they're using them for something. And I just wonder how much they're getting paid to do it, and how do they keep them quiet? That's what's really interesting.
Money.
So, yeah, but even money. I mean, they have to talk to someone. That is a secret. How do you keep that secret? When you know something is a false flag and you're involved in that as an actor, how do you keep that a secret?
I really don't know, but
yeah.
You know, the only person we could ever find a grave for here in Tucson, we visited all the cemeteries, was that Judge John Roll. So apparently he really was killed that day. But and I think the Gabrielle Giffords we see on TV is actually a clone. I don't really think that's the real person. I think the astronaut Mark Kelly is her handler, just like Kathy O'Brien. If you ever heard of her, she has a handler named Mark Phillips.
Right.
And another false flag event that occurred, of course, we're all familiar with, is 9/11. The only person I know in the entire world that really knows what happened that day is a former professor out of South Carolina. Her name is Dr. Judy Wood. Have you ever heard of her?
Yes, that sounds very familiar. I think I've seen her on YouTube.
Yeah, well, what really happened was they used directed energy weapons that day to dustify the towers. Those towers didn't even collapse. It was a dustification of the towers, and through a physics that most people aren't familiar with called molecular dissociation, they were able to dustify those towers. We had instant rustification of cars like almost a mile away from the site, and there was a hurricane headed towards New York City that morning that most people aren't aware of.
People aren't aware of that. That is so true. Absolutely. I know about that, yeah.
Yeah, so... And, the weapons they used to bring down those towers could be used to turn this planet into another asteroid belt.
Yeah, but when we were discussing that, Riker, Jesse Ventura didn't he discuss that?
Yes.
On one of his shows?
He had her on one of his shows, and he changed his whole idea as to how those towers fell down after listening to her explanation how they came down. He was sold on it. And when you look at the videos of it, those towers actually disintegrate. They don't collapse. They pulverize. They just turn into sand, dust.
Right, and the smoke you've seen emanating from the towers before the so-called dustification was the molecular dissociation of the the steel just turning into dust. But, we see that as smoke and we think, oh, the building's on fire. But that's just a different physics we're witnessing.
Right.
So that's why they were able to find paper that didn't burn yet. There was I think they said several weeks after, when they were digging in the rubble, there was still metals and stuff that were red hot. What would cause them?
Something?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that something that people think the steel, burned, but we don't have paper that burned.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
very strange.
Yeah, it is. Well, did you hear today? It's on the news that they found the landing gear. It said Boeing on it. It had a serial number, and they're saying it was from one of the 9/11 planes. They found it between the buildings.
The reason they occasionally bring those stories up, well, we're still finding human remains or whatever, is to keep the masses preoccupied.
Exactly.
What they're fed, what really happened that day.
Exactly, and that's why they brought that up. So basically, 9 years later, you sifted through, 9/11 for months and months and months. You're taking metal, you're sifting through the debris from 9/11 from the buildings, okay? But you just happen to find the landing gear. How many years later? You mean you're not going to look around those buildings and the alleys to look for anything from those planes? But you just happen to find it now. So let's keep it in the minds of the American people about 9/11. Let me tell you something. As a New Yorker and as an American, you're never going to forget 9/11. Regardless of it being a false flag or whatever events that we know that happened, that took place leading up to 9/11 and those involved, you're still not going to forget that. So, they keep trying to throw things at the American public and the public in general, even abroad, to keep it in the minds of Americans. You're right. Absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Terrell Croft, he ties this 9/11 event in with his Black Star Project. I don't fully understand it, but it is interesting that the weaponry used that morning would be used to turn this planet into another asteroid belt.
Yeah, that is interesting. Definitely interesting theory. I also want to bring up I want to go back to where I was discussing Operation Norwood. I wasn't cutting you off. I'm sorry. We can go back to that. But one aspect of Operation Norwood, it involved a proposal to hijack an American passenger plane. And the Joint Chiefs of Staff proposed that a real plane containing American passengers would be hijacked by friendly forces disguised as Cuban agents. And in the proposal of this Operation Norwood to the President, Kennedy, I don't know if you know about this, Sheldon, but President Kennedy actually denied this proposal and turned it down. But the plane would drop off the radar screen and be replaced by a pilotless aircraft, which would crash, purportedly killing all the passengers. Under the plan, the real passenger plane would be secretly flown back to the United States. So now this is Operation Norwood with this proposal with the airplane that would be hijacked. That was back in 1962. I just find it interesting that this is what happened on 9/11, that it was hijacked, but then turned into kind of like an unmanned aircraft or pilotless aircraft. They called it a pilotless aircraft at that time. Here today would be an unmanned aircraft. But the thing is, that's interesting that this was part of the proposal with Operation Norwood. And I shared, I don't know if you want that document, but I did share it. You can find it online and everything, but I did share it in the chat room, the actual incidentally unclassified document, which was presented during the investigation of the Kennedy assassination. So with that said, for people not to question even the 9/11 attacks, the people who aren't awake and who do believe the original story that the government gave, all you have to do is read this, and you would question any person who has some sort of a brain, the average American, would question after seeing this proposal. So that's what I just wanted to bring up before we get into something else. But is there anything else you wanted to add before we stop talking about your research on Planet X?
Well, some people out there might be baffled why they're carrying out these urban warfare training exercises with black helicopters. They've been doing this since back in the early 90s. I've been in the alternative research community for like 20 years now. I used to listen to Bill Cooper when he was on shortwave radio.
Mm-hmm. You said Bill Cooper, right?
Yeah, Bill Cooper.
Yeah, he goes by
we all know
Bill
what happened
Williams.
to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have his book. I love it.
Yeah, I have it too. The reason they're doing this kind of stuff is because they're getting ready for the Earth changes. They plan on going through these Earth changes and coming out on the other side all shiny and intact with their New World Order and ready to rule the planet. And they're, the reason they're tunneling into the ground with their underground arc cities and that is because there's an event coming. They know that's beyond their control, and they're going to use the New World Order draconian measures to try to live as what they think will be kings of the Earth after the passage of this inbound brown dwarf star.
Yeah, I definitely think it's all linked together. I said that. I definitely think it's all linked together. Absolutely.
Yeah, because the behavior of the governments worldwide is just too bizarre to, for what else could it be? I mean, they could have killed us en masse by now, but it's like they're waiting for something.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I also did a YouTube video on Earth changes, and I'll share it with you. It's about 10 minutes long. And what I did was I first showed, I did all the editing myself, and I took what President Obama was discussing during his 2008 campaign, how he wants to, address Earth changes and a changing climate with countries all around the world. And, he is adamant in working out, doing carbon taxes and how it's human, due to human behavior. But he's going to work with, other countries in trying to kind of battle Earth changes and a warming globe. Then during his 2012 re-election campaign, he basically tells the people cheering for him and everything, which he loves, that he's going to do this. Then in my video, I also show a few months later, after he won the re-election, the first press conference, the first conference that he had a few days after he became, he was re-elected, he came out and said when after Hurricane Sandy occurred, it was here in New York, there was a press conference, and there was a reporter that asked, what are you doing about Earth changes? What do you do about a warming globe? This in New York, this usually doesn't happen. Then he goes on to say, well, we're not going to address Earth changes right now because I think the American people are more worried about the economy. They're more worried about jobs. So let's just forget about Earth changes now. Now, his demeanor completely changed because before that, he was talking about Iran and the threat of Iran, okay? And I say that sarcastically, of course. So the thing is, he talks about Iran, and then his demeanor completely changed when discussing that. To me, I think it's because he knows it's not due to human activity. Because in my research of Planet X and Nibiru, there are planets inside our solar system that are heating up and expanding.
Yes.
So it can't be due to human activity. If other planets are expanding and heating up and changing, and there are anomalies going on in our solar system with other planets, how is that due to human activity? So I believe that he was briefed. He knows that this is happening. And that's why I did that video. And I show all the Earth changes that are happening and everything. So if you want to add to that.
Yeah, and the threat of the pending passage of Planet X is getting more dramatic now because I just discovered this a few days ago that Saturn and Jupiter have undergone a pole shift about 4 months ago. So it's getting deeper into our system, which concurs with Terrell Cross information.
Right.
That the subject is accelerating.
Right.
And yeah, they've been aware of climate change for about 30 years now. They decided to originally use that as a cover story for what they really know would be happening 30 years in the future, which is right now.
Right, exactly.
Because they know that as the brown dwarf star gets deeper into our solar system, that we'd be witnessing more dramatic earthquakes, volcanoes going off, and et cetera.
Now, do you believe that this my theory, too, in my research, I don't have a science background. I have a social science background, but not an actual science background. I have a background in criminology in my education and my career. But the thing is, in doing this research, I feel that even the mass animal death, I believe that this planet has a lot to do and caused a lot of the mass animal deaths we've been seeing. Between sea life and most sea life and the birds, especially birds. I'm thinking it's due to some kind of magnetic pole shift, that they're losing sense of direction or they're being placed in different areas of the sea where they're not used to the climate in that area, in those waters. I mean, this is what my research. This is my conclusion.
Yeah, and I concur.
Yeah.
I concur with you. The Earth has been wobbling now for 10 years.
Right.
We're undergoing the pole shift already. It just hasn't gotten very, very severe yet, and it is related to the magnetic field and the magnetosphere reversals that Carol covered on your show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I think that has a lot to do with it, because if you think about it, in the articles about the mass mental death, there's hundreds and hundreds of incidents of this in the last few years. So in the articles, they don't really give an explanation as to why that occurred. Is it because they don't know, or they know and they don't know how to present it to the public? So, it's one of the two.
Oh, I think they know what's going on. It's interesting lately. I drive a big semi truck. I've been having some really close calls hitting birds with my windshield lately, and I find that kind of unique.
That is impressive. Let me tell you, I give you a lot of credit with driving those semis, because I was putting guys in.
I was going to say, I've
yeah.
always said in the past, too, when we've talked about all these planet changes and things that are going on, that, we keep being told, this is a once-in-a-100-year event. Once every 50 years or so we see something like this or whatever. And it's like they keep blowing it off and trying to make excuses. And it's like, when the next big one happens, what are they going to say then? And it's like, people got to wake up and realize that, no, this is not a once-in-a-100-year event. These things are happening all at once. And it is something coming. There is something going on.
So what is it you see also with birds and stuff and the animal behavior when you're driving? It just seems to be odd, doesn't it?
Well, just birds having close calls hitting my windshield while I'm driving.
Right.
Yeah, I'm very aware of all these animal deaths that have been going on.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let me ask you something. Since you drive a semi, do you ever see those FEMA coffins? I mean, so many people are reporting seeing these FEMA coffins being transported. Do you see anything out of the ordinary like that? Or the military, the trains being, the freight trains transporting military vehicles and everything? Do you ever see anything like that? Do you travel interstate or?
Yeah, I drive on Interstate 10 here in southern Arizona. I've been witnessing a lot of military equipment being hauled on semi flatbed trailers over the last 3 or 4 years, and I just don't know if it's connected to the Planet X stuff. I would think it is.
Yeah, that's my theory, that it is, that they're transporting all these vehicles nationwide to get ready for this pole shift. I'm adding a video in the chat room, and I'll give it to you here in Skype. This seems pretty authentic. This was given to me by someone who is part of a research group called Nibiru Chronicles, and this was shared on my Facebook, and it seems pretty authentic. It's a video somebody took in Austria of Planet X. Yeah, it's pretty, or what they claim to be Planet X or Nibiru. And in viewing this video, it seems to be pretty authentic. So, but yeah, I figured that a lot of truckers are reporting seeing military vehicles being transported, and also the FEMA coffins being transported. So to me, I know that they knew. My research started with Planet X when I started this. It brought me to Robert S. Harrington, who was the chief astronomer at the U.S. Naval Observatory.
Right, and he died of a fast-acting esophageal cancer.
Yeah, which was questionable to researchers, of course. Now, do you know anything about Eugene Schumacher? Eugene Schumacher was also a scientist, I think, that worked either aside or for the same observatory, that also died an unexpected death in an accident. Do you know about Eugene Schumacher or Schumacher?
Oh, yeah. It was either him or his wife had discovered that those comets had slammed into Jupiter, I think back in 93 or 94, and he was all of a sudden died in a car accident in the outbacks of Australia.
Right. Exactly. So that was questionable, too. So there's also a video that goes around talking about, dead scientists that were involved in some sort of research leading up to
Yeah, it's interesting. Terrell's associate, his name is Stu. Stu, have you ever heard of him?
Yeah, I think I can recall Terrell mentioning him, yes.
Yeah, he's got a report out on the death of at least 70 astronomers involved in this black star imaging research since, I think, 97.
Right. Well, I find it interesting that Robert S. Harrington was doing this research, met with Zachariah Sitchin, continued this research on Planet X in 1983 when he came out and discussed it. In 1993, in January 1993, I think Robert S. Harrington, that's when his demise, took place. And it was interesting that in June of 1993, NASA basically came out and said, well, now the issue on Planet X can be put to rest, and that was a quote. So why is it months after Harrington's death did they come out and say now they can put it to rest? I think it was it's obvious that Harrington had a lot of information on it. He was the chief researcher in this, although there were other scientists involved in the research, that they put it to rest after his death. They didn't want to continue it with the public because there were so many articles out before that. And then after Harrington's death, then the astronomers that were doing the research after Harrington's death stopped reporting on it, which I find interesting. But
some people might say, well, he was a pipe smoker. Maybe that's why he died of the esophageal cancer. But
right.
The thing is, he had taken blink comparison photographic plates. I think that's how you say it, of what he's seen come our way, and those photographic plates were never revealed to anybody.
Never revealed to anybody, yeah. No, absolutely. He did have evidence of it, and he also had evidence of the perturbations with the planets and everything. So where do we know the location or the coordinates where Planet X may be right now? My research revealed that it was possibly in the constellation of Leo.
Yeah, well, I know Terrell out there. He thinks it's over in Libra or Virgo right now. Me and my Planet X research associate John DiNardo, we really tend to think that it's actually out there making a giant U-turn out there near Saturn. That's what we think.
Okay, that's good enough. Definitely. I have 90 seconds left, but I never asked for a timeline. So you don't have to worry about that of when this thing is going to come around. But when this thing does come around, and I say, because I'm a strong believer of this, so when, not if, but when this thing comes around, it's going to, my understanding is that it's going to have kind of playing a tug of war between the sun's magnetic field and Planet X's magnetic field with Earth and cause a pole shift. So is that basically what's going to happen? 60 seconds.
You want me back on next week, Valerie?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm so into this right now. I really wish I had more than 60 seconds. But that's my understanding of it. And I know Terrell had brought that, had confirmed that that's what's going to happen. But again, everyone, this is Sheldon. I can have Sheldon back on next week, and we could discuss this even a little bit more. Sorry to end on that note. I know we're keeping you in suspense, but just join us next week. And Riker, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome.
As my co-host. Always a pleasure. But yeah, Sheldon, you and I will be discussed. I'll stay on with you in a little while. So everyone, we'll be back next Saturday evening, and Sheldon will be here, and maybe Terrell will be on with us as well. So everyone, have a wonderful evening, and I have 10 seconds, and just keep doing the research, everybody. Always do your own research. That's how I always end my show. No matter what I provide, always do your own research. Question everything. Everyone, thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.